Welcome. We're back. It's another show. I'm excited. We're going to talk about some receivers today. It's interesting. The comments fade in better when there's 4 people than 3. We've learned that recently. But yeah, no. Thanks everyone for tuning in. And yeah, we can. Ryan, tell us what we're going to do today.
Well, I mean, first we're talking not first we're talking wide receivers. We're going to talk wide receivers eventually, but we're going to talk to Zach a little bit. We're going to do a little interview kind of thing here. I'm excited to, crack into that. But let's get started here. I need to pull up the show sheet. I'm actually behind, but
it's okay. There's not much on the show sheet.
Oh, I'll figure it out. But Zach, tell the people where they could find you.
Sure. So you can find me on Twitter at FFChalupaBatman, right on the screen there. And I apologize if you guys are hearing some thunder. I live down in Central Florida. It is 3 p.m. It is summertime, so we have our perfectly timed thunderstorm rolling in right now.
How is life in Central Florida?
Hot, humid, but it's good. I enjoy it.
Yeah. Were you at Disney World recently?
I work at Disney World, so I'm there.
You work at Disney World. Yeah. How is that?
It's been fun. I just hit my 10-year anniversary a few days ago. So
oh, really?
Congratulations.
10-year marriage anniversary or 10-year work anniversary?
Work anniversary. 8 years marriage is coming up in a couple of months.
Oh, nice. 8 years. That's a long time. That is a very, very long time. 8 years ago, I was 19. Yeah, I know. Still feel young in some ways. But yeah, no, as people hopefully will come into the chat eventually and ask some questions, because I don't have much on the show sheet. It's been a very slow news week. There's been a lot of Scott Fishbowl news, though. I don't know if anyone's excited about that. We will talk about that. We will definitely cover Scott Fishbowl. I talked about it last year. I think I was doing SDLF at that point. So we talked about it.
Yeah, you were, because I remember you ripping into my draft really bad.
This is fake news. No, it's fake news. That didn't happen. It's fake news. Roll the tape. Roll the tape. I didn't do that.
Roll the tape.
Roll the tape. I didn't. What did I say? What did I say that was so bad?
You thought my draft was bad.
It was terrible. Yeah, no, it was. I mean, I
don't have to roll the tape.
I didn't rip into it. I was literally said it was the worst draft ever. That's even worse than ripping into it. You're just saying I ripped into it doesn't cover it. That doesn't cover it. It's true. But it's it was even worse. Oh, that was probably one of the meanest I've ever been to anyone who asked any question.
And guess what? I still made the playoffs.
I made the playoffs too.
There you go.
I don't know how I made the playoffs, because I drafted Michael Thomas and Gibson, and my draft was kind of terrible. And Kelsey early, which was not really a great pick. Can you help him out, Zach?
I'm happy to answer any questions about Disney. Hookups wise, when it comes to like tickets and stuff like that, I don't have that available.
Why not?
Yeah, no, they don't do that. I can get myself in, but that's about it. But yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Awesome. So tell us more about some of the stuff that you do.
Sure.
I want to hear about that.
Sure. So I've been creating content in the space for a little over a year now. Actually, Scott Fishbowl is what got me into creating content, because I was always one of those people who's on Twitter. It's probably been close to 6-7 years now, that did not really interact with anybody. I was just on there to get football news as fast as possible, to take advantage of it, to beat my league mates in fantasy football, because I was very passionate, still am, but very passionate back then about trying to win. And Twitter was, back then, that was before Sleeper existed or any of those kind of sites. So that was the fastest way to get your news. And then a few years ago, I heard about Scott Fishbowl for Scott Fishbowl 9, like right before it started. So I did not get in, but I got into the Satellite League. So I got to go through that draft experience, a lot of fun. And that's when I started interacting with more people, following more accounts. It wasn't just the big name sports accounts. And then Was fortunate enough to get into Scott Fishbowl 10. And that's when I really was interacting a lot more with everyone. And then I guess it was last spring, 2021, a site randomly reached out to me and was just like, hey, do you have any interest in writing articles for us? And I was like, hey, I appreciate you thinking of me. I've never written an article in my life. They're like, no, that's fine. If you want to give it a try. So I enjoyed it. First month, put out a few articles, had a lot of fun. And I was like, you know what? It's not really so much about me having a career in this. That's not my goal. Just having fun, trying to help at least one person. But I wanted to get more experience, get out there more. So I reached out to a handful of sites that I respected, smaller sites, some bigger ones. And I was just like, hey, here's what I've done so far. If you are looking for any more writers, I'd love to join. And way too many of them said yes, and I thought they would. So I ended up writing for, I think it was 6 sites last summer, which was a lot of fun just to get a lot of practice in and work a lot. And then I cut that down for the season. And now I'm down to a handful of sites. So I work for Triple A Fantasy. I do a podcast with them for the Tripwire. So that's for Waiver Wire every Monday and then comes out Tuesday as well. It's live. So we'll have that in the in-season. Right now in the off-season, we're doing Dynasty content right now, just having some fun with the guys. I also do a Beyond the Analyst interview series for them. That drops every Monday. So the YouTube will actually be dropping at 4 p.m. for that. The interview came out this morning on podcast. I was with Kevin Coleman, DuBois_22 this morning, but that was episode 21, I believe. So that's been a lot of fun this offseason, interviewing a lot of people in the industry, getting to know them a little better, not talking fantasy takes whatsoever. And then I also write for Club Fantasy FFL, and I just had an Irv Smith article come out last week for them. And then Fantasy and Frames, I'm doing work for them as well. So I've been working on their graphics and then putting out some articles. So I've had a Travis Etienne Dynasty article come out. And there was something else I recently wrote for them. I put a little too much together. I'm doing other things coming down. I have a Kadarius Toney article to finish for them. So keeping it all straight. But anything I put out, you can find on my Twitter account.
Yeah, I can relate to not being able to keep track of everything that you're doing. I don't know how I pull it off, honestly. Definitely.
I've just seen the Vipers group chat, Zach.
Yes. So I'm still with Vipers. I've not created an article for them for quite a while, but I do like to promote all of their work and interact with all the guys there. And yes, Ryan and I are in that group chat, which is a lot.
I just looked at your Twitter because I'm like, yeah, you were in the Vipers, but Twitter unfollowed you for me. Like, what? Twitter.
I didn't even notice, but that's okay.
Twitter. Why are we doing that?
I know a couple people have that problem where they unfollow accounts.
Yeah, it is a problem, and I wouldn't know. I don't know. I follow 7,923 people, so I really wouldn't know. Okay, we'll start with this question. Also, what do we think about? I've chosen interesting. I didn't realize what this shirt really looked like today.
It looks like one of those weather maps.
Yeah, I didn't know that I was suddenly a hurricane.
I was just checking the radar to see when the storm would pass, and that's literally what I thought of, as Brian was saying.
Yeah, storm. I always say that I can be a little bit like a hurricane. But yeah. So Judy or 24 first and Allen Robinson?
I'll take Judy and the 24 first.
No, the 24 first with Allen Robinson.
Give me that's so far away.
I know.
It also says firsts. I'm assuming it meant just first, like one
gotta
first.
Be, yeah,
it says firsts.
That's what I assume.
It's got to be more.
If it's numerous, it's definitely the picks. Even if it's just one, I think I'd still take the pick, given what he's trying to do. Can you try to get a 23 first? Somehow?
No, I mean you can't.
Yeah, probably not for Judy, but. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm assuming he's being tear down. So if he's trying to rebuild, Allen Robinson doesn't really help you.
Yeah,
like at least Judy's young. I don't know. I might if you're really trying to rebuild, I might lean Judy. But if your goal is to get 24 first, I don't think it's a lopsided trade if that's what you're going for.
Yeah, I mean, if you believe in Judy to be the guy this year, then you might want to wait until the season, and after he puts up, 3-4 really good weeks or at least solid weeks, then you may be able to get that 23 first for him, like a presumed late 23 first or something for him. But
is there any merit to taking the 24 first and Robinson now? Take that now and then sell Robinson before you actually see it, because you don't want to see it. I don't think we're going to talk about wide receivers today. I will spoil you. We're not going to talk about Allen Robinson today. We're not going to talk about him today. So we're not going to get there. I can tell you that right now. So
yeah. No.
We're not going to get to him today. So, but some people think that Allen Robinson is going to somehow be top 15 again, even though he looked like garbage last year. Terrible. Every route he ran was bad. He looked awful. Injury. I mean, allegedly there was an injury. I don't know. I mean, we didn't hear too much about that injury, but what are these? What does this sound like? This sounds to me, there's a word that starts with E. This sounds like we're using to describe Allen Robinson. I don't know. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't think of it. Oh, excuses. Right. Excuses. And we don't get fantasy points for excuses, right? I haven't, Zach, I don't know. You play in a lot of different leagues. You have a lot of different formats. Have you ever joined a points per excuse league? I
have not, but I'm sure we could probably get out.
Oh, I think it would be very interesting. If we joined a points per excuse league, we know the Juju Smith-Schuster, Saquon Barkley, Clyde Edwards failure, Carson failure, Drew disaster. Those would be the most popular players. Everyone
the first round right there.
Yeah, well, Miles Sanders would be very popular with a lot of excuses. Every time is a new excuse. So, I think it would be very
actually a first round grade in that league.
Yeah, he would be. He would be a first round grade for sure at that point, because it's just excuses after excuses. Now the gallbladder is a new excuse. He didn't look like he weighed 160 pounds. I don't want to hear it. That's bullshit. I don't, I'll put him on the scale. Show me a picture of him on the scale and I'll believe it, but we're never going to see it. We're never going to see that picture because it doesn't exist.
If he was so much better now, like healthy from that, why would they go out and bring in Ronald Jones, bring in Jerick McKinnon? Obviously, we're not on running backs today.
Now they brought in, they brought in Ronald Failure. Ronald Fumble, or Ronald Bench, as I like to call him. I think would be a good place for him, is to put himself on the bench, because he doesn't know how to play running back in the NFL consistently. He does two good things, and then there's always a setback. We can't have that. We need players who are consistent. Otherwise, if it's a mistake every 5 minutes, then you're going to cost your team the game. And Tom Brady's not going to have that, right? I mean, and that's why they shipped him off to elsewhere. Now Patrick Mahomes can deal with it. We'll see if he likes. We'll see if Patrick Mahomes likes it any better. I don't think he will. Hope all is well. Well, okay. Everything's. It is what it is. Life is life. Is Judy a hold? Thing is, if Jerry Judy doesn't produce now, I think his dynasty value is going to go way down, right? I mean, at some point, people are going to get tired of it. At some point, you have to actually do something. I mean, maybe Juju Smith-Schuster gets 3 years of chances, but that's because he did something, 4 years ago that people are actually interested in. Judy's never done anything that anyone's interested in. So another failure would be, really a nail in the coffin at this point. So I think he's way overvalued. I don't really have any interest in Jerry Jeudy. I would just remove him from my team.
Yeah, agreed. I like the 24 class, what I've seen so far, what I've looked at, but it's so
we don't
far
know
away.
anything.
And your league might potentially fold by then. It's the dark truth.
Yeah.
So
if you have Jerry Jeudy, here's what I would do. What I would do if I had Jerry Jeudy is I would try to trade him for, how about like Devonta Smith plus, who I think is better, more talented than Jerry Jeudy, but it isn't in as good of a situation. There's not as much hype around him. Maybe you could also look at, this might be optimistic, but maybe Hollywood Brown. Maybe you could get Hollywood Brown, who is actually good. He's actually proven something in the NFL over Jerry Jeudy. So that's something I would consider. Packaging Juju in the 203 could get you what? I'm thinking about doing the same thing with Gabe Davis and a second round pick, 1 QB. So let's start with Zach.
If you gave us a position to
get
you.
Well, let's start with Zach. What do you think Juju in the 203 gets you? What in your ideal scenario?
Probably not a lot, just because the value on Juju's just so low right now. And I'm assuming you're talking about a 203 as in like this year's rookie
Yeah, rookie pick. Yeah.
class. So, I mean, that's a solid pick, but you're probably not drafting a starter at that position. So if we're talking like running back, you're probably looking at someone's probably valued maybe RB3, RB4. If we're talking a wide receiver, you're hopeful, I guess, for
Well, give me a
maybe
name.
a fringe. I can't even think of a name of like somebody that would. I feel like even. I don't even know. I just don't see Juju's value really
All
fetching
right.
anything.
I'll give
Hey.
you a name, and then you tell me what you would pick. How about that?
Fair, perfect.
All right. So let's say it's AJ Dillon.
I would
AJ
take AJ
Dillon.
Dillon all day.
Would you take AJ Dillon or Juju in the 203?
AJ Dillon? Not even close.
AJ Dillon. Okay. That's
I got-
value wise, that's about what it is. So
I got a fun one. What about the guy we were just talking about, Juju in the 203 or Jerry Jeudy?
I'd rather Jerry Jeudy over AJ Dillon.
I'll take
Jerry
Jerry Jeudy.
Yeah, so Jerry
Yeah.
Jeudy. Yeah. I liked AJ Dillon, but it's tough with AJ Dillon. He's still I don't have AJ Dillon ranked that high. We did the running back rankings. I had him at like 25. And he just requires an Aaron Jones injury or Aaron Jones going away, which isn't happening this year. I do think there is a universe in which it flips, but even if it flips, then it flips to how I have it ranked in reverse, which is still not all that great. I mean, I think the best case scenario is by the end of the year, you're ranking AJ Dillon around 11 or 12 and Aaron Jones at like 30. That's like the best case scenario for AJ Dillon. If Aaron Jones stays healthy, I think that's the upside with a healthy Jones. It's like 10, 11, 12. With no Jones, the upside is like 4 or close to it, 4 or 5. But, I do like AJ Dillon. Willing to wait for him. Jerry Jeudy on the team. Okay, good question. I like this one. This is going to be good. I think this is going to spark a conversation. So let's go to this one. Move Jamar Chase for Breece Hall and Jalen Hurts in a super flex league. So Chase or Breece Hall and Jalen Hurts. So yeah, we can. Go ahead.
I'm gonna go with Chase. Even though it's super flex, Hurts is one of those quarterbacks going into this year where he could end up being great and you might get great value on him, or he may not perform and the Eagles have the draft capital next year to go and get pretty much whatever quarterback they want next year. And then you're screwed. Whereas Chase just feels so much safer. He's a wide receiver. He's young. He's talented. I would need a lot more than Hall, who still is on the Jets, regardless of what his draft pedigree is. Give me Chase. I would need multiple 23 firsts for Chase.
This is a tough one.
I know,
because I've been preaching the Jalen Hurts, like exactly what Zach just said all off season, and then they go out and get one of his best friends in AJ Brown, sign him to a big money extension. Then you kind of think in the middle a little bit. I love Breece Hall as a prospect, but this is tough. You might have to come back to me on this one. I really like Jalen Hurts in Dynasty.
I think I'm with Zach here. Chase over Hall and Hurts for me. I mean, there's a scenario where if your QB1 is someone that's basically out of anyone's top like QB1 territory, where you're starting someone like Trevor Lawrence or Tua, like those guys are your QB1 and your QB2 is just like nothing. Like if you really are desperate, I don't see either side being like lopsided at all. But like you're saying, there's a lot more stability with Chase. Like, he's going to be in the league, be pretty dominant for years and years to come. Hall, yes, he's an exciting prospect that just came on, but he's on a poor team. Opportunity will be there, but he's still a running back. They just don't have the longevity that wide receivers do. And like you said, Hurts, he could explode, and he has that upside of being a top 3 quarterback, but he also could be out of a starting job, and that's a little risky.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, the value on like the DLF trade analyzer, for example, is hundreds of points on the Hall side. So I know that. And I didn't have, I mean, I looked, but I didn't have to look to know what it was going to say. So it's hard. It's hard for me to ever do this. It's hard for me to ever take this kind of value loss ever. So knowing that it's a value loss. So I guess with that being said, I would have to take Hall and Hurts. It's hard. I get it. I get why you don't want to do it, but I would
very
have
hard.
to.
If you
I
get
got
a second,
What would the
tack
trade
on,
calculator say if it's Chase for Hall because Hurts is in the starter next year?
he's gonna start somewhere.
The thing is that the difference between Hall and Chase is less than half of Hurts. So if you think it's even better than 50-50, which I do.
I guess for me, I can see Chase being the wide receiver 1, 2, or 3 in Dynasty for at least 5 years, and he's not the wide receiver 3. Whereas I don't know if Brees Hall
We
has
said that about
longevity.
Juju. We said that about it's like you can never be. It's hard.
Metcalf.
The reason I don't want to do it is because the value is so much on the other side. You can say that we're always so sure, but OBJ was the wide receiver 1 for a while, and then one day he wasn't. Like it's hard to be that sure about anything. So if the value is so much on the other side, I'm going to go with the other side, even if it feels like it's riskier.
Sure, but don't you think you get more for Chase than that trade?
No, I don't. No, I don't. I think this is one of the best offers I've ever seen for Chase in a super flex. I don't think you can get more. I really don't.
On top of it.
No, I mean, it's Hurts in the 101. So no, this is one of the few times I've seen an offer for Chase and I'm like, okay, if I'm in a position, I need a quarterback and I need a running back. Superflex quarterbacks are hard to get a quarterback who has that kind of scoring upside in a superflex. You can't just magically get one. That doesn't work that way. You have to pay something significant. And this is paying something significant. Getting the RB1 in the class, a solid, excellent running back prospect, along with a quarterback who's a top 2 round startup pick, who even I'm lower on probably than some. I would definitely say I'm on the lower end of Hurts generally compared to your average analyst. But I'm not that low. And I do think that, his odds of being the starter next year in Philadelphia to me are greater than 50%.
No, I get that. But if you really need a quarterback, I guess if you're kind of punting this year potentially, would you rather find a trade with a 2023 first where we expect some young quarterbacks coming into that class?
No, because
you need them to be hot. You need that to be like
because unless it's really early, what are you going to find that gives you more upside than the potential of Jalen Hurts now? Like, there's a universe. The universe exists where after this year, Jalen Hurts is a top 5 startup pick in Superflex. If he goes, it leads them to the playoffs again, is a top 5 quarterback in fantasy again for the period like how he was at the beginning of the season. If that happens again, which he could do with AJ Brown, then he would be a top 5 starter pick. If he gets a contract extension on top of that, he'd be a top 5 starter pick. I mean, there's no reason not to be. He's just the same thing as, really it was what we want Kyler Murray to be. I mean, he would be the same thing if he gets the money. So like, I get it, but there's risk on the giving up Chase side. A lot of risk. This trade could look stupid in a year. I mean, in a year, there's a possibility that this trade, it's easy to talk about the Hurts losing the job side, but there's also the other side, which is that Hurts is a top 5 dynasty quarterback and Brees Hall is the dynasty RB1. There's that side. That's the upside of the other side. And that would be a disaster because if Hall were the dynasty RB1, he'll be worth more than Chase. We know how that works. Like how Jonathan Taylor's worth more than Chase now, Hall would be worth more than Chase later. It's just how it works. So it is. Thank you. Yeah, no, like I said this a couple weeks ago. I've really tried to have, I'm certainly capable of it, but I've gotten away from it a lot. I've gotten away from it, especially over the last few months. People always do, they do ask me for it. Just say failure, scream, whatever. They do ask for it, but I have tried to get a little bit back to having a little bit more analysis and a little bit less nonsense. But don't worry. Carson Failure, we haven't forgotten you. Drew Disaster. No, your throwing motion. We haven't forgotten you. Don't worry, but I will try to give you guys more real analysis because, I can scream whenever I want, but analysis is fun. Oh, and also, if you're here, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell. All those things get us in front of more people. And I want people to see this show because I think that this show is helpful to people's Dynasty, their redraft games. And it's just, it can be a benefit. And I want also people to have a good time. I know that this show can be entertaining and I want people to watch it. So, every like, every comment, every subscription, and especially if you're in the chat, the more people chat during the live stream, the more it shows up in people's feeds when it's live. So getting in those chat messages is actually really, really important for the live algorithm, just like how comments are for the after show algorithm. So, anything like that, whatever question, even if you think it's silly, there are no silly questions. I love getting any question. So whatever you have to say, even if it's just a comment or just telling me you like the show, like put it in the chat. It really means a lot to me. So I appreciate everyone for that. Let's move on to this one. So would you move Foreman for Huntley? You have Lamar and 12-team Superflex half PPR.
If I didn't.
Yeah, I would do that
And
anyway.
He mentions the
Why
Huntley
not?
manager has CMC, so they're basically just trying to cover each other for their back. So I don't see an issue with it.
Huntley's worth more to me.
Yeah, so you might as well get Huntley.
Yeah, Huntley's worth more. So I'd rather have Huntley. This doesn't matter which QBs you have. Yeah, no, good afternoon. It is, yeah, it was a nice day today. Still is. New York, all that. All right. Well, let's see. So we caught up on the chat. So is there anything actually on? Oh yeah, Scott Fishbowl. So do you guys all have divisions or picks or what? Like
I'm co-hosting the Orlando Live, so we will be deciding our picks at the draft. So I don't have a pick, but I will be.
Tell the people about that. Tell the people about that live, whatever. Yeah, tell the people.
Sure. So I think Scott planned this a couple years ago, and then as COVID did with so much, ruined even this. So we're finally doing live drafts, which is exciting. So it's all around the country. You can go on scottfishbowl.com to see if there's one near you. But for Orlando, we'll be drafting at Coronado Springs on Saturday, July 9th at 2 p.m. So we'll have 2 drafts going there. So I'll be in one division, and then I assume Troy King, he's co-hosting with me, will be in the other division. And we have no idea yet the draft order. We do have 24 people currently signed up for that, so I don't know Scott's plans on how he's going to balance any kind of leagues. I saw some live cities where it was very analyst heavy or very fan heavy, and I know he likes to kind of balance out those divisions. So more to come on that as we get closer. But yeah, it's a good old fashioned live draft.
There
Just
were
for
a
like
live
10 rounds. Yeah.
If there were a live draft in New York City, I would consider going to it. I would consider it, even though I have said on the show many times that I will never go to the FF Expo. If it were a live draft in New York City and I didn't have to get too far off my ass, I would consider it. I would very much consider it. I'd consider it at least for a few minutes, and then before probably saying no.
Yeah,
But,
these live drafts are only 10 rounds, and then we'll do the other 12 rounds.
No, I've definitely been trying to. I've been a little bit more in my shell lately. I don't know. You guys probably haven't noticed, but just like generally, just it's been a tough time for me just generally. Both fantasy football, mostly personal, but fantasy football as well. I'm trying to. Just being in too many group chats is just kind of overwhelming. I left the New York City group chat. I just couldn't handle it. I don't really want, not as much in the mood to socialize and chat maybe as I used to be, but still here for you guys.
It's okay.
All right. Jameson Williams and 23 first or Waddle?
Jameson in the pick.
Yeah.
Man, I don't want to. Like I get it. I mean, it is that side, but I don't like it. Waddle's worth more. I feel like it should be worth more, but he's not. 23 first are worth so much. But
I think Waddle's value is kind of depressed right now, or like just down right now. I mean, just still Tyreek coming over. That's only going to be for, I mean, we'll obviously talk about those guys today
Yeah, we will.
a little
We
bit
will.
later. I think
We
both
will.
of them will get to, so we don't
We
have
will.
to get too much into it. But I do think his value has gone down in most people's eyes, like a significant amount, even in Dynasty, where we know he's going to be great beyond the 2-3 years that Tyreek might be around.
In Dynasty, I have him at wide receiver 6, so he's not down for me. I have Jameson at where do I have Jameson? At 21. So Dynasty. So which is actually pretty high. I think that's higher than most. All right, who wants to give the pitch?
Do you want me to do it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're hosting
All
a
right.
live draft, yeah.
Sure. So, Scotfish Bowl is a huge tournament now. So it started. We're going on Scotfish Bowl 12. So this is the 12th iteration. So Scotfish, if you don't know who he is, you should be following him on Twitter. But he's a great guy in the community and does a lot for everyone. He has a lot of great content as well. But he basically put on a tournament, started way smaller than it is now, with analysts and with, we'll call them fans, but really just anybody. And so it's grown a lot. Last year was 1,920 people in the tournament. I don't know the final number this year, but I was told it was a lot more this year. And so basically, it's just a massive fantasy tournament that gets a lot of people involved to raise money for various charities. It used to be Toys for Tots was the main one. The last few years, Scott has been focused more on donate to whatever charity impacts you the most or you feel most about. But it's been raising a ton of money. And then it's really just a normal league from a division standpoint. It's just you and 11 other teams. But then once we get to the playoffs, that's when you're competing against everybody else. And basically it cuts down from like half of the playoff teams. It keeps cutting down in half and half and half until you get to the final week. And then you have a champion.
I made it to the semifinals a couple of years ago.
That's incredible.
Yeah. I wanted to win so bad. Like in 2020, I was 2020. I Scotfish Bowl 10. I wanted to win so bad. And honestly, like, I feel bad because the reason I wanted to win was, of course, because it would give me more attention. And I will say, like, I definitely in 2021, I was not on top of it because I was like, all right, I have enough attention now. Like I just was like, I was too overwhelmed. I just have like my Patreon kind of took off, too many articles, doing shows. Like I would forget to check things. I was just like, fuck, like I forgot to pick up that player. Like it's always so slow and all that. And I was like, oh, I missed my 2020. It just felt like a magical season. Like everything was going my way. I just thought I was going to win. And then it just like 2021 was not. I still made the playoffs somehow. I don't know how that's possible. Because I think I went through, I don't even know, like 50 players or more. Crazy amount of roster turn. But yeah, part of me thought, to be honest, about not signing up because, I almost was like, I want to give my spot away to someone else. But, I decided that it's fun and it's a way for everyone to come together and, I should do it and, just be a part of it. But I definitely, if I will try to give it my 100. I'm not in as many leagues as I was last year. I got overwhelmed between content and leagues for sure last year. So it was definitely just, it wasn't the only league where I missed waivers, forgot to pick up players, forgot to trade, forgot to set line, forgot this, forgot that. Like I did a lot of forgetting. So hopefully this year with less leagues, I'll be better.
Yeah. I'm still trying to, sorry. Keep going.
If I still can't get it together, I'll definitely give my spot away for Scotfish Bowl 13 because I feel like, if just because I'm a bigger name in the industry doesn't mean that I should take a spot from someone who wants it more in the future. But go ahead.
Let's consider it. No, I mean, I was just saying I'm signed up to play, invited. I'm trying to get into the Boston live draft. There's a location or the draft is, 15, 20 minutes away from me at a bar that I sometimes go to. So I've told them if they need anything at all from my end, I'd be more than happy to help out and stuff. So I'm just hoping that I'll I'll get invited for that. And I've already reached out, and Bob, one of the contacts, has told me that even if I don't get invited, I'm more than welcome to come join them. So I'm excited for it either way. And I'm really, this will be like the first time that I take, what I've been doing here on Twitter, like in the space, into in-person setting in any way. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think I've ever really done that. Not really. All right.
Bob is the man. Got to shout out Bob.
Yeah.
He did a lot.
Yeah, he'll actually be at my Orlando one. He's hosting it with me,
bouncing
but
around. Wow.
he won't be drafting there. He's just hosting down there because he just happens to be down at Disney at that time. He's like, oh, I need to do a live whatever. So he's helping out with that, and then he'll be drafting the Boston one.
What do we think?
Yeah, for BJ and anybody else, though, if you haven't signed up yet, the only way to get in the Scott Fish Bowl is to actually sign up.
That's true. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't know that. They say, like, where is my invite? And then Scott's like, well, you never signed up. So
I actually, funny story about that is I actually gave away a spot through my trivia a few weeks back, and my first 2 random name generator commenter people that I picked weren't signed up, even though that was my clear one rule. And so I wasted Scott's time telling him names once or twice, and he's like, they're not signed up. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, and then I finally found the third random person was signed up, and they're now signed up and they're invited to play. So, that's definitely number one. You have to be signed up regardless of where you win your invite or get your spot. You have to be signed up. Otherwise you will not get in.
Yeah, that is very accurate. Very, very important. What about this trade?
Ooh, give me Javonte.
How confident is how early? How confident?
Exactly.
It is
like,
if it's all right, if it's
yet.
top 4 or 5 for sure, I'm taking that side. Top half, I'd say. If I know for a fact it's in the top half, I think I'd lean that side.
Man, this is so tough.
But this is also like almost like a how's your team kind of context. Like it's tough to do in a vacuum, but that I think that's where I'll stand is with no other context.
That's
early.
That's added context.
So like
how bad is the team that wants Javonte?
All right, if it's that bad, then I'll take that side. But
where it's like it's like a 60+% chance that it's going to be a top 3 pick or something. Like I'll take
guess.
Like was Amon-Ra's wide receiver 1? Like
my guess is this early first is not from the team that's getting Javonte. It's from another team. Like
it's a different
the team
first.
Getting Javonte is trading away a different first to get Javonte. That's what because otherwise this trade doesn't make any sense. Like if you're rebuilding and you think you're gonna have an early first, why you're not giving it up with Amon-Ra for Javonte? So it has to be someone else's first. But
yeah,
man, brutal. It's brutal. I understand that trade. It's weird. Okay, I like this question actually. I thought about this a lot myself. So this is good. Great show as usual. Oh, thanks, Mr. Ridley Truther. And 12-team Superflex, 1 PPR, 2 tight end premium. What's your thoughts on Stafford in third? Seems to be his ADP, but just doesn't feel right for 34-year-old. I got Andrews at 202 already. Well, yeah, what are your thoughts?
If you didn't, like, you talked about Andrews in the 202, so I don't know who his first pick was. If it's on a QB, Stafford's probably the best you're going to get at that ADP. Yes, he's 34, but I mean, look at a lot of quarterbacks right now are playing in their mid to late 30s, and he's surrounded by a lot of talent. So, yeah, I would say you probably need to get a guy like Stafford.
He traded out of the first, Zach. He put that in a different comment. So
he traded out of the first.
So then Stafford might be your best option then at that ADP.
Yeah, Stafford's a weird one for me. I mean, he's basically locked under this contract for really the next 3 years. And it's still expensive even in 2025 to get out of it. So they're stuck with him. I will say it's the kind of thing at this point where, so you ever, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you guys have heard of it, right? But like, you ever thought of like asset depreciation? Like, you guys know what that is, right? But I know you guys know, but people watching, like, you know what asset depreciation, right? So asset depreciation is essentially you have an asset that you know is going to lose. It's a, like, let's say a car. You drive it off the lot, and the second you drive it off the lot, it loses 20% of its value. And then it continues to decline reliably in value over time, eventually, getting to its, dead value or whatever when it breaks or whatever, the ending Kelly Blue Book value of just plus 10 plus years. Someone like Stafford, I would think about that way. Matthew Stafford, and you can think about Russell Wilson the same way, because I put him in this category actually as well. 33, they're 33 and 34. I don't think that Matthew Stafford or Russell Wilson are ever going to be worth more than they're worth now. They're never going to gain value again. They're only going to continue to decline over time. But as they decline, they're going to give you, like a car would. Car gives you driving, it gives you gets you around, blah blah blah. Those players will give you fantasy production as their dynasty value continues to decline. So it's just a question of, what is that worth to you? What is that ride worth to you? Yes, that was intentional. What is it worth? So I don't know. I think I think it's I have Stafford in the Superflex tight end premium ranked at 18th overall, so clearly I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I mean, Stafford, like you said, is one of those QBs right now. If you draft him in a startup, he's probably retiring on your squad unless he has like an MVP caliber year. And then
I don't feel that way.
Trade him.
I don't feel that way about Stafford. We're far enough away, because remember I said we're on a curve. We're on an asset depreciation curve. So we're not at that point. Someone who is at that point would be Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, you're done. The curve is over. You're already at the bottom. That's it. And then he's going to retire, and it's going to just fall. It's just going to go to zero. You've already done the 4 years from now that Stafford and Russell Wilson are going to do over time, declining in value over time. Aaron Rodgers is someone, you draft him, you're taking the rest of his career, and you know it. With Matthew Stafford, he's only 34, not 38. So you could, in next offseason, you look at his contract. He has 2 guaranteed years and 3 with a decent amount of money. There are 2 years left next offseason. You'll be able to trade him. You'll be able to trade him first.
You'll be able to trade him. What I'm saying is, just like you're saying with the depreciation value, you'll never get the same amount of value. Like, his value is not.
But that's not the same thing. That's not the same thing as you'll not be able to, like, at this point with Aaron Rodgers, I would say that the second you drive him off the lot, he's already lost most of his value. And you'll never, even once you draft him, you can't even sell him for that value, because he's so old that most people in the league, a lot of people in the league just won't touch him. Whereas like with Matthew Stafford, he's not seen that way. He's not seen that way because he's a lot younger. And you still are going to have sell opportunities for him, even if it's not for the same amount. Whereas Aaron Rodgers, you've already lost a lot of that value. And you're at the steeper end of the decline curve, where it can all go to zero very fast. Whereas with Matthew Stafford and Russell Wilson, you're not in that area. You're still in an area where you're in a slower decline because they're not at the end of the age cliff. So, yeah, in summary, I'm fine with that price. I mean, clearly they're not very worried about it, because they just gave him 160 million. So if they were willing to give him 160 million with that injection, I have zero. I didn't even know that. I mean, I don't even think I knew that. It was a non-story to me.
I think he's like barely throwing, or like just back to throwing right now, but we're far enough removed right now where unless I'm hearing issues in late July, August about it, I'm not going to give any thought to it.
All right.
Michael Thomas right now.
Well, Michael Thomas is still not ready. He's still not ready because did you see that box drill he's doing? He doesn't look good. He doesn't look good. He's not ready. He's not ready. He's nowhere near being able to play in an NFL game. So it's going to be a long time. So I don't know. He's someone I think we should maybe avoid. Not that I haven't been saying that for a while. But, yeah, what do I know? Oh, man. All right. Was there any news at all that anyone wanted to talk about? There wasn't much.
We are in the slow part of the off season.
I mean, Okay. So I think the biggest news, and I did my video on this last week, but it's continuing now, is that Terry McLaurin, and there's more news on it today, is not signing that contract. They're not close. They're far apart in negotiations. So, yes or no? Yes or no? I have two questions. You only get to answer with yes or no, nothing else. Does Terry McLaurin start week 1 for the Washington Commanders this season? Yes or no?
Go with yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'll go with yes. Next question. Does Terry McLaurin start week 1 for the Washington Commanders in 2023?
No.
No.
He's gone. No.
I'd also say no.
I think that there's too much. The team is talking up Jahan so much. I think it's like kind of almost to me showing that they're not afraid to lose him eventually. Like obviously we all think he's going to start there this year, but I mean, I don't know. It seems like they're kind of at odds.
Terry McLaurin is also a rare player that I could see being moved at the trade deadline and extended as a part of that trade on his new team.
Mm-hmm.
Because, that's your time. That's when you have leverage. And you might be able to, if you start 1-6, it might be time to realize that it's time to cut your losses and move on from Terry McLaurin while he still has value. So then you don't have to franchise him and franchise and trade and deal with all that. You use your franchise tag on someone else. So yeah, I think he'll be gone very soon. There is a chance he could be gone this offseason. But I don't know. I don't know where he would go.
Is there a chance he holds out?
Yes.
Like out of actual games?
Yes.
Right?
I would consider it if I were him.
I that's what I'm saying. It's like we all said he's going to be on the Commanders week 1, but I don't know if he's going to be on the field for the Commanders week 1, like even if they don't get something done, like I don't think I think he's in it too deep, and he feels he deserves the contract that some of these other guys are getting, which I do think kind of rightfully so. He's proved what he can do with pretty not great quarterback play, let's say, but
you can't hold out like you used to be able to. Like the penalties for holding out are severe, but he could be very disruptive. While he could just not, like we've had this in the past with Kamara and Mixon in training camp. The years they got their contract extensions, you can be very disruptive and cause a lot of problems.
Didn't Dalvin do that recently too?
Dalvin
last 2 years ago.
Year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. What else was on this show sheet? Let's see. All right.
The Baker carousel.
Yes. Baker Mayfield and Carolina will negotiate endlessly. Although it's not really Baker. It's the Browns and the Carolina. Endlessly.
I don't know if you guys saw, but Ian Harditz from PFF, he had this really funny tweet where it was literally, it's all from, like RotoWire somewhere, and it's updates every other day. It's like Carolina interested, Carolina not interested, Carolina interested, Carolina not interested. It's like, and it's the funniest thing. It's like some of these are the same day they're putting out the same the articles with the opposite news on them, and I'm like, this is crazy. When is it going to end? And we likely won't know for a little bit still.
We don't know, yeah, but it could be a while. We'll see. It's at some point it's going to have to.
It's all negotiations, because how many quarterbacks are they paying right now? I think they're still paying for Teddy Bridgewater. So it's really coming down to who's paying for Baker's salary. Is really where the negotiations are stuck.
And I've heard they only want to pay half, or are willing to pay half, and what do teams want them to pay more than that? So it seems like a fair. Nah, I don't know.
I don't think so. I really wouldn't like to. I just feel like I wouldn't like to pay any of the salary. I don't think so. Why would I want to pay it? Because he's not very good. He's not very good, and he manages to alienate teammates everywhere he goes. So I don't know. I don't know. Would I want to pay that? We'll see. Maybe what I would think, though, is if you sent Baker over there, you could ship disgruntled Robbie Anderson over to Cleveland. How about that? You could ship him, and he could get the honor of, instead of playing with Baker Mayfield, he could play with Jacoby Brissett, and we'll see. We'll see if he likes it. We'll see if he likes it. We saw T.Y. Hilton's numbers with Jacoby Brissett. They were not very good. Not good. So I don't know. I think it'll be good karma for Robbie Anderson to be sent that way. If we can't tell, I don't really care for Robbie Anderson. One of my it doesn't come up. He doesn't come up on the show very much because he's irrelevant, but he's probably one of my least favorite players in the NFL. I do not like him.
I think I had a stat about him once where he's like one of the only players to get like, I think 10 plus targets and have less than 30 yards or something like that. It was, yeah. I mean, he scored a touchdown in the game, I will say.
People wanted him last year. People were ranking him in like their top 30, and I had him ranked at 40 something. And everyone was like, "You're crazy, you're crazy." And I was like, "Come back to me later."
Well, Bridgewater enabled like 3 borderline top 36 wide receivers, and he was one of them. So I saw the
it was lazy. It was always lazy analysis anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, Robbie Anderson's one good season before the 2020 output was 2017, which was not with Darnold. But people were thinking that because he reunited with Darnold, that his 2 horrible 2018 and 2019 seasons, which is close to what we actually got, somehow he had more targets and produced less. So it was even worse.
Sounds right.
But yeah, I'm not a big fan of Robbie. I've never liked him. I don't know why. I just never was a fan. All right. Let's see. So James Robinson is not going to be ready for camp. We know that. Yeah. Travis Etienne is becoming more and more appealing to me.
Have you pushed him up since we've talked about? We obviously covered him in our first running back app, but
no, because nothing really changed to me. I never thought that James Robinson would really be ready.
That's fair.
Snoop Connor and Dynasty.
Yeah.
It's not too late.
Never too late, right? I mean, it's never too late.
I remember saying Divine Ozigbo too. And Dare Agumbawale.
Maybe this is because Courtland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy aren't that good.
Oh, they're worse than Robbie and Curtis.
DJ Moore, actually
Moore.
good.
I mean, well, DJ Moore, I agree.
Curtis Samuel was used as a running back. Was used a lot as a running back. He wasn't. Curtis Samuel, not. But again, something to consider. That if you actually think about it, consider that. Yeah, consider that. Robbie Anderson and Curtis Samuel not very good. They're not good. So yes, it's a good point. Actually, they're terrible. I wonder. I don't know. Just something to think about. Something I think people should think about before blaming it all on Teddy Bridgewater. But whatever.
Tim Patrick.
Whatever. Yeah, Tim Patrick. Yeah, Tim Patrick really stopped you.
Wide receiver 1.
Yeah, he stopped you from breaking out. You're so good. So good. Such great
I
player.
can't wait till Kendall Hilton is the actual.
Kendall Hinton. Yes.
Hinton.
Yeah. Quarterback.
Yeah. There we go.
Quarterback.
With
I
KJ
remember I picked
Hamler.
up Royce Freeman that week because I thought he was the emergency quarterback.
Speaking of Scott Fishbowl, with the negative points last year for a quarterback, that was not a good play for those who were getting desperate.
Hey, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I said not to do it. I didn't do it.
How did they do negative points last year?
So it's different this year. So to confuse anybody, we're going back in the past, but it was the last 2 seasons of Scott Fishbowl. There was negative points for incompletions. So basically, anytime you fell below 66% of a completion rate, you lost points. And then interceptions were heavily
-4.
Yeah, and then I think pick sixes might have also been.
Pick sixes were -3. Additional -3.
So basically rewarded accurate quarterbacks.
Derek Carr
that played well.
Yeah, somehow, despite everyone
Kirk
knew it, and I
Cousins
still
did
got
well.
Derek Carr in the 7th round. That was my only good pick. That was like my only good pick of all of Scott Fishbowl. last year.
So
Oh my god.
it doesn't reward the quarterbacks that might have like, even if you get 2 or 3 touchdowns, if you were like 50% or
It does
lower
not
in
reward
completion and some
Jameis
interceptions.
Winston's of the world.
Yeah.
Is that what you're trying to say?
Aren't they?
Yeah, I think-
So aren't they still doing that though? The 66. So
Yeah, I
the,
think he's doing a bonus if you hit 66%, but I believe there's no
Ah.
more negatives for incompletions.
So
gotcha.
here were my first 5 picks in last year's Scott Fishbowl. Somehow I made the playoffs anyway. Kelsey, Tannehill, Gibson, Ridley, Michael Thomas. Those were my first 5 picks.
Wow.
So
That's
yeah,
impressive.
of those, Kelsey at 103 did not live up to his value. Tannehill in the second, disaster. That's disaster. Gibson in the third is just as bad as Tannehill in the second. Not worth the cost at all. Ridley, nothing. Michael Thomas, nothing. And I still made the playoffs anyway.
See, depth matters.
Yeah, I picked Connor in the 12th. Connor in the 12th, I think saved me.
Huge.
Yeah,
I mean,
Connor in the 12th, saved me in
Tannehill,
the ninth.
I'm always a little surprised when I see that he was technically the QB 12 last year and he snuck in as technically a QB 1.
Not in Scott Fishbowl scoring. He wasn't the QB 12.
Really? That's
No,
yeah.
definitely.
he wasn't
that makes
pre-draft.
sense.
Was he getting drafted as like QB9, QB10 in Scott Fishbowl?
Yeah.
I
I was
drafted
all
him
in
at
on him.
QB9.
I was all in on him. Yeah, I drafted him really high. I
'Cause he was
drafted him
super
over
efficient the
Rodgers.
year before.
I drafted him over Rodgers.
Ooh.
Whoops.
Oh, that was
Everyone was all in on Ryan.
Now, we will say-
Hindsight is always 2020.
This
Scott
year I've
Fishbowl is
corrected
in
it. Though.
July. I mean,
Yeah.
it's early July when you're drafting. We didn't know if Aaron
True.
Rodgers was playing or not.
I
So
thought he
just-
wasn't playing.
Just to give a
I
little
thought-
context. Yeah.
I
That's
thought he
true.
wasn't playing. It's one of the things I was like, I thought he was
That
going to
is-
retire.
I
You see his
drafted Aaron
hair?
Rodgers in the 3rd round. That's how far he fell because of people
Yeah.
not sure
And
what he was going
it
to
paid
do.
off marvelously for you, I'm sure.
Don't worry,
am-
I missed the playoffs by 1.5 points. So
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
This year I've corrected myself though. I have Ryan Tannehill in redraft at quarterback 19. So I think I've gotten it right now.
I have him at 20.
20. All right. But yeah, Zach, before you have to go, tell the people one more time like where they can find you, all that stuff.
Sure. So I'm at FF Chalupa Batman on Twitter. For those, some people do get the reference, some don't. So it's always funny depending on
I do.
who you are.
Of
But
course.
it's from the league. So if you have not seen the league yet, this makes no sense to you. But basically, one of the characters, without spoiling too much, made a bet that if they won, they got to name this other character's unborn child, and he chose Chalupa Batman as the baby's name, and that's where that comes from. So just trying to.
I actually saw
Not
him live doing stand-up. Steve Ranazisi.
Yep.
That was pretty
Really?
fun. Yeah,
I love that.
he had a weird kind of downfall in fame. I don't know if you guys have ever heard this story, but well, basically to sum it up, he lied about being on the scene at 9/11, so he kind of got like almost canceled. So
Yeah.
not a good look, but he was hilarious. This was 10 years ago or whatever when I saw him, but yeah, little side note, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all good.
But yeah, so that's where I'm at on Twitter. And then, like I said, all my work is up there, but I write for a few companies, put out some podcasts. So appreciate any of the support, but it's been a lot of fun.
Is there anywhere that you want people to subscribe to or anything like that?
Sure. I mean, you can support any of the teams I write for. So we got Triple Play Fantasy, we got Fantasy and Frames, and Club Fantasy FFL, and Dynasty Vipers. But yeah, most of my podcast work is through Triple Play Fantasy, and everything else is mostly articles.
Awesome.
I don't know how you even keep track of all of those.
I don't know.
Kudos to
Gotta be
you,
Twitter
man.
bio.
Kudos.
I have a note sheet.
You really?
I know who do I need to write for? When does it due? Which
Wow.
episode am I interviewing?
I don't have too many things with due dates.
Yeah, no, it was fun though. I did
Not much.
for my Beyond the Analyst series. I try to get ahead of that so I don't have pressure of like trying to schedule interviews
Yeah.
and feeling like I'm far behind. So one day I did 4 interviews in one day, and that was actually a lot of fun. But I had to remember who was when and get all that organized. But I mean, it got me like over a month ahead of schedule, so that worked.
That must be cool.
It was fun.
Great.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite project I'm doing right now. So if you guys don't care about fantasy takes right now because it's the off season, then go check out Triple Play Fantasy, my Beyond the Analyst series. It's on YouTube on a playlist, or you can find it on our podcast channel.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for coming on, Zach. It was fun
Yeah.
talking to you.
Yeah.
I appreciate you guys having me on.
right, see ya. So
Have a great one, guys.
you too.
Well,
Oh wow, that was weird.
that looks
Okay, hold
weird,
on.
yeah.
Hold on, I gotta sit up now. There we
Like that better.
There we go. Okay. All right.
All right. How about that? This I could get used to. This I could get. Don't give me any ideas. Otherwise, we're gonna do the whole show like this. Fine. I'll relent. Thank you. Not true, but thank you. All right. Well, we are now actually going to get into wide receivers after an hour of that. That's fine. Yeah. So we'll just go as long as I feel like it, really. How much energy I have left. But all right. So we talked about redraft quarterbacks and running backs on the last group of shows. Wide receivers is going to be even longer because how many wide receivers did you guys rank?
I mean, I didn't think we'd get through 50 today, so.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I have. Yeah, so far 60. I don't have a note on all of them. I figured we wouldn't get
I have 68.
past. I figured we'd get somewhere around 20 or so.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah.
Tannehill and Malik. I mean, you can do it if you want, but I'm not overly obsessed with it. Anyway, let's move into the. I wish I had a transition drop. I'll timestamp this one for sure. But anyway, let's move into the top tier. So the top tier of wide receivers. Who do you guys have in your top tier?
3 names.
Yeah,
Me too.
3 names. Are gonna be the same name. They're going to be the same names.
I bet it will be.
Definitely the same names, potentially a different order. I flip-flopped around a little bit after mulling it over.
I have never wavered. I've had them in the same order the whole time.
I mean I did, and then just went for it.
Yeah. So I have Cup first, then Chase, and Jefferson third.
So I have Jefferson, Cup, then Chase.
Yeah, that's how I have it too. A little different over here.
I think
Really?
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah. What really got in my head is really just the fact that the number 1 wide receiver just like almost never finishes number 1 again. And so while I know,
don't get me started.
it's just like, well, I know Cup
Nobody. That's
certainly
not
can do
predictive
it.
though.
No, I know. And I'm not saying like Cup has, I just think that I guess in my head, the chances, so Jefferson, Ryan and I both have Justin Jefferson, number 1. And we all know he's going to have one of these crazy, like outlier, great efficiency, like explosion years. It's just a matter of, is it this year? Is it next year? Is it not even in the next 3 years? Is it down the road? Like he's going to have it though. And so I just think, I'll take my chances. We all have them in the same tier. We're not that far off, obviously. And so I just have him number 1. I think he's shown how incredibly talented he is in these first 2 years. And that's really it. You can't go wrong with any one of these 3 at number 1, really.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, I have him at number 1 based more off of Thielen has to regress, right? Like he's 32. We always talk about the touchdown regression. How long has it been? 3 seasons? We've been talking about the touchdown regression. It's never happened, but
Yeah.
I ranked him at 1. It's not like I'm saying Cooper Kupp is bad, but Justin Jefferson, the stat that really stood out to me was he was 8th in unrealized air yards. Cooper Kupp didn't score that highly, and Justin Jefferson's they got
how many unrealized air yards did you expect Cooper Kupp to have?
Not many.
Like,
dude, that's not the basis.
no,
of
it is the point. I mean, it is the point though. A lot of it is the point. It's because he produced so much that there was no room for unrealized air yards.
But he wasn't first in air yards total. It was Jefferson anyway. So even though
That doesn't surprise me though.
that doesn't surprise me,
Like,
I
There's
think
gonna
it's
be that
just it's
season
not
where he
it's
hits-
not against Cooper Kupp. It's more of
No.
a testament of if Jefferson can pick up even a slightly bigger percentage of some of those unrealized air yards, and if he can, just keep improving like he has year over year, it's like it's coming. Like I fully expect in his career he will be the wide receiver 1 in a season, like at least once. No? Or yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
sure,
right? Like
but,
100%. Like, but
I know
it's just
it's a large gap to close.
it's just, we see players have crazy outlier years even when they're solidly producing. They have years that they can't match again, which their best year. And I just think he can get to it this year.
I mean, it's possible. I mean, he did very well last year, so it's definitely possible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Take Mahomes and be happy.
just do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, take Mahomes. Absolutely.
Take Mahomes and be
Unless
happy.
you get like the 101 package, then maybe.
Yeah.
But you need a lot. Like,
Yeah.
take whatever you're asking and double it.
I'm good with
Because the
that.
next player on the board is probably gonna be what? Kyler Lamar? Maybe?
Probably.
I don't know how his startup went, but
Kinda. Yeah. I do feel that way.
No, I don't agree with that, actually. I don't think my ranking of Cooper Kupp at 2 has anything to do with Allen Robinson being better or worse than people think. I just think that I like he's not going to put up exactly what he put up last year. Like that's a given,
I mean,
and even if
sure.
even if he doesn't, and even if he's 70% of what he did, he's still basically the wide receiver 1. But I'm just saying there, it's just like the explosion. Any one of these guys can have this explosive, just like away from the deviation year where they just go insane. And, I think after what Jefferson's done the last 2 years, I'm just putting my money on him to do that. And maybe I look stupid. Cooper Kupp is the clear number 1 again. That's fine. Like I have him at 2. It's not like I have him anywhere outside of my top 2. Like
there's
he's
really
number
not yet.
2.
There's not that much to talk about, really. I
if
mean,
we were digging for Allen Robinson, we'd have him below like Diggs.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's
If
not
I
much to talk
thought
about.
Allen Robinson, yeah.
There's not that much to talk about, really. I mean, obviously, I like Jamar Chase. I have him at 2. I am confident. And there's something about Kirk Cousins. That's why I have Jefferson at 3. That I'd rather not. I'd rather take Jamar Chase.
Yeah, I totally understand. I think it's just, for me, I think Jamar, not that he has to compete, but he does have another like almost elite wide receiver. Whereas Jefferson, there's no like, obviously Thielen's there, but he's not T. Higgins. And I'm assuming we'll get to T. Higgins today, even when we're talking about our top 15, 20. Yeah, I mean, and that's really it for me, where it's like, and it's kind of like what they're trying to say about Allen Robinson potentially pushing down Kupp. It's like, for me here, it is that Chase is solely at 3 behind these guys because he's the only one that has, yes, he has the best quarterback of the 3, but he's the only one that has as elite, not as elite as him, but like anywhere near as elite a second option in that offense. So
yeah. I mean,
yeah,
there's not that much to talk about with these guys. But anyway, okay, so next. Who's next?
After Chase?
I got Diggs.
I have Diggs after 4.
Chase. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
So we all agree.
Yeah. I mean, he was number 3 last year or 2 years ago. with that explosive year, first year in the new Buffalo Josh Allen offense. And he obviously came down to earth a little bit, but I think people were really angry because of where they kind of drafted him. I think a lot of people had him as a top 3 to 5 wide receiver coming into the year, and he finished as the wide receiver 7 or 8. So obviously, if you took him that high, you were a little bit disappointed. But it's like he was consistent. He might not have scored the touchdowns that you were hoping, but I just think he didn't have the boom weeks more so that you kind of got the year before. But I don't see too much changing that offense passes 60% of the time that you have Josh Allen at quarterback. Like, he's going to produce.
Yeah, it's just the receptions weren't there. The targets were there from the breakout season. The touchdowns were there. He was second in red zone targets. Like, his role is not going to change. His points just went down because of the
and they also, there's no Cole Beasley. I don't know how much Jamison Crowder is going to replace him. Probably a decent amount. Emmanuel Sanders is gone. Gabe Davis should step up, but we'll see. I don't know.
I've been picking on that air yard stat a lot this episode thus far. He was second in both, so it's just the receptions. If he gets those receptions up a little bit, we'll be back at this level again.
What's the range of outcomes for Stephon Diggs
in terms of like fantasy finish?
Yeah.
Well, so yeah, I mean, I don't see him being any lower than like the top of the wide receiver 2 range. Like,
so what? 14?
Yeah, like 14, 15 at the lowest. Like, even if Gabe Davis all of a sudden break out, Diggs isn't earning as many targets as the last 2 years, whatever. Like, I still think he's gonna be the number 1 option in the passing game.
Well, yeah. I mean, are there actually really, be honest, are there really people out there who think that Gabe Davis is going to overtake him? Really?
I don't know about overtake, but some people. So remember earlier we're talking about the picks, trading Juju in the second for picks. He also said Gabe Davis in a second for what? And
you get a lot more for Gabe Davis in a second.
I was going to say, I've gotten 23 firsts from these Gabe Davis truthers, just hardcore stance. I've gotten 23 firsts just for him straight up, or if I have to package a second, fine.
Don't do it.
Give me that. It's like, there are those people, and I'm not saying that they think that he's going to overtake Diggs by any means, but clearly some people love him so much. They remember that 200 yards and 4 touchdowns, and they want it.
Hey, that's all they remember.
If you
that's all they remember. They don't remember anything
take
else.
Advantage, do it.
They must not remember anything else, right? I mean, if they remembered anything else, they would not be as excited, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. I think the floor was last season. I think that's his floor. Honestly, 9 or 10.
Don't look at the stats. How many targets do you think Gabe Davis had in 2021?
48.
It's actually more than that.
70.
63 in 16 games. Both seasons, 35 receptions each year.
But that playoff game, though.
Yeah, but that playoff game.
That playoff game, right? I mean, the only reason people are so in on Gabe Davis is because even without the playoff game, he has 13 touchdowns on 70 receptions. It's not possible. It's not possible. No receiver does that. Nobody.
I'm going to have to go out there and make some friendly bets that Jamison Crowder is going to finish with more fantasy points than Gabe Davis.
That I find hard to believe. But we're talking about a player who decreased their snap share from year 1 to year 2. Decreased yardage.
Who couldn't make it onto the field over, aging end of the line Emmanuel Sanders. Like,
in the first playoff game, he had 3 targets, caught 2 of them for 41 yards and a touchdown. So it's really one game. That's all it is.
That one game.
That one game, though. Yeah.
That one game, though. I mean, he did look awfully impressive in that game. We've seen we've seen the flashes, we've seen the glimpses, but when the team isn't putting him out there, when he's not earning the target share, the snap share, it's like we can see flashes every for the 20% of the plays he's out there or whatever. Like, that doesn't mean anything to fantasy at that point. So unless we really see a step up, it's like, yeah, I don't know. And so for that reason, that's why I think Diggs is, he's not going to really fall out of the bottom end of the wide receiver 1 range, in my opinion, even if he does, high end wide receiver 2 at the worst. Yeah. But I have him at 4. So I think all things considered, I think he'll be right behind that top tier of those 3 we talked about.
Who do you guys have at 5?
I have Davante Adams at 5.
Me too.
As do I.
We agree.
Wow.
That's pretty
and
funny.
Yeah, so I actually put Diggs and Adams in a tier alone.
I can see that.
And then I moved on to a much larger group after that.
Yeah.
I put the next name in that same tier, actually.
Which is?
CD.
I wish I could, but he hasn't done that yet. I do have CD Lamb at 6, though.
Yeah, I mean, so let's get into Davante first real quick, right? I mean, he's been Rodgers' go-to guy. He's had over 149 targets in 3 of the last 4 seasons. He would have hit that mark if he hadn't gotten injured the one year. He didn't. So he's gotten a crazy amount of volume. He's now going to Derek Carr. And I didn't realize this. I knew they played together in college. You guys obviously have heard that. They're old college teammates.
Fresno State.
I didn't realize they played 2 years together. I thought it was only 1 year. 2 years together, 233 receptions, 3,031 yards, 38 touchdowns. So they had a connection. It's obviously Fresno State. It's college ball. It's not the NFL. But they seem to like each other. So
yeah.
The big question to me is, I think the targets will be consistent, but will they be as high as he's used to, where he's now competing? I think Waller and Renfro are better than any other competition he's faced for the last 3-4 years. And so it just comes down to a matter of, is he still going to be commanding 30+% of that target share? And if he's at 25, what happens? And I still think he's an elite wide receiver. I think they brought him over. They spent, significant capital to bring him over, traded away some assets. So I think he's still going to remain in that top 5. But I did think about flipping him and CD, to be honest, a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to get that target share no matter where he goes. Davante Adams is. It's one of those things where you just have to bank on what we've seen before. And he's been the best wide receiver in the NFL. 5 seems a little low, but I couldn't put him any higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's telling that, we have the same top 5 and that, the same exact 4 and 5 with Diggs and Adams. And I do think that's the way it's going to shake out for most people, because Stephon Diggs has, remained in the same situation, whereas Davante Adams is on a new team. Yeah, he played with Carr in college, but that was a long time ago. So I can totally understand why there would be some doubt.
The numbers are all there for Diggs too. They're all
I know.
there.
I mean, Diggs has been great over the last 2 years. He's been great. He's been a wide receiver 1 both years. And, in 2020, that was like a ceiling outcome. And maybe 2021 was not quite as good. But I think 2021 is about what my expectation is, to be honest, maybe with a little bit more efficiency. I mean, a 62.8% catch rate is by far the worst percentage of his career, yards per target, worst of his career. I don't think he was really that much worse. So I am thinking they just gave him big money extension. Josh Allen, definitely did not have as good of a year passing in 2021 as he did in 2020. So, and I think that he, 2020 is very much in his range of outcomes as a passer. So yeah, I'm not overly worried about it. Okay. Now, with that being said, I just have nothing left to give you guys. I'm sorry. I love you in the audience. This has been brutal, brutal week for me. It's nothing to do with fantasy football industry. It's been brutal for me on I don't even know how many levels. We will cover the picking up after the top 5, which I assume won't change between now and then. We'll pick this up next week when hopefully I'm feeling better.
We'll be live if they change. We'll have to go live.
We'll have to go live if they change because something crazy would have happened.
That drastic happens.
Yeah, something that drastic because my top 5 are really locked in.
Yeah.
But yeah, we will pick that up next week. Yeah, and I just really enjoyed getting to that hour segment with Zach. I hope you guys all liked that. It was a little different from what we usually do, but I'm okay with that. I always like to show new, give you guys some new voices, some new looks. Ryan.
Yeah, look at that.
There's the reason I don't have my bed in the frame. Let's just say that. But anyway, I appreciate everyone who watched the show, anyone who liked, anyone who commented in the chat, any comments after if you're watching this after, and just don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, and we will be back here next week. And, we'll pick it up from 6. We'll have Hutch as our guest. So it'll be another 4-person show. And we'll start with after the top 5. We'll just move on from there. Maybe talk a little bit more Scott Fishbowl as we get a little bit closer to that. But anyway, I just want to thank everyone for tuning in. And I will see you all next week. Peace.
Yeah.